This is Mirabella's kitchen, and today I'm making beef bourguignon. If you'd like to cook with me, please check the description below for a list of the ingredients and a shout out to my patrons, Dennis, Andrea, Daryl, and Melissa. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everybody for your patience while I've been out. Got sick, had a really hard time getting through this cough and voice, and still kind of have it, but I'm trying to be back. I'm starting with 10 ounces of pork jowl. I cut it into thin pieces. Usually it's bacon lardons, but I could not find any. I'm gonna have some oil going in my chef oven and a visit from my sous chef, and I have some water boiling where I'm going to be making a double strength beef stock. So it's 2 cups of water, 2 teaspoons of beef concentrate from Better Than Bouillon, and then I reduce that to half to double the strength. I also take 3 pounds of a boneless top round steak, and usually it is a lean chuck. I wasn't able to find any at the store. I'm cutting it into chunks this after I dry it, but I really recommend drying it again so the pieces will sear a little better. Next, I'm making my bouquet garni, which is some fresh parsley, fresh rosemary, thyme, and some bay leaves. I'm going to tie these with some butcher's twine, and they're going to be sitting in the beef bourguignon as it cooks. So I have the beef stock reducing, and I am preparing 2 carrots, but I need to pay my carrot tax first. So the oil is now hot, so I add in the pork jowl, and I'm going to lightly brown it on each side over medium-low heat in a nice even layer. While that's browning, I thinly slice the carrots, and I also chop about 3 tablespoons or so of the fresh parsley for topping at the end. I'm going to give everything a stir so it evenly browns. And then I'm going to add in the top round steak and brown each side. While that's browning, I'm mincing 3 cloves of garlic. And I've reduced my stock to 1 cup, so it is now double strength. I'll keep that warm for later. And the sear would have been a little bit better on this if I had really dried the meat, which helps have an even sear. So I do the sears in batches, and then I add back the pork jowl and the rest of the meat. I'm going to take 3 cups of Cabernet Sauvignon, and I'm going to add a little bit at a time to really let the flavors all marinate together. Then I'm going to add in the garlic and let that get stirred in. Then I stir in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and then I stir in the carrots. I'm doing everything one thing at a time. Next, I add in the beef stock, and then I add in the bouquet garni. I'm going to season with freshly ground black pepper and a little bit of coarse kosher salt. I bring this up to a boil, and then I'm going to give it one final stir before reducing it down to a simmer and covering it for 2 hours. In the meantime, I'm taking about 14 ounces of shallots and dicing them. I'm taking 14 ounces of white button mushrooms and slicing them. I'm going to caramelize the shallots in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, stirring frequently to get them nice and brown. To help that browning process, I add 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking powder with some water, and it helps brown it a little bit. I remove it from heat, and then I add in another 2 tablespoons of butter and the mushrooms and let those brown. These are going to be added shortly to the rest of the meal. I have 3 tablespoons of softened butter and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm doing a Beurre manie, which is blended flour and butter. I tried blending with a fork, didn't really work, so I moved on to a whisk attachment on my immersion blender, and it really got it nice and blended and smooth for me. So after 2 hours, I remove the lid, give it a stir. I add in a little bit of the beurre manie at a time and whisk it to prevent any clumps. Once that has all been added, I then add in the shallots and I add in the mushrooms. I give it a stir. I do a little taste test after it's been thickening for about 30 minutes uncovered, and I decided I need a little bit more coarse kosher salt. Once I'm comfortable with the seasoning, I add a little bit to some mashed potatoes and top with some fresh parsley, and that is my beef bourguignon. Thanks so much for joining me today. I make new videos on cooking every week, and I'm hopeful that 2024 will be a better year for me content-wise. Please support me on Instagram at Mirabella's_kitchen and Facebook and Patreon at Mirabella's Kitchen.